Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining today's Agile 42 webinar. Today the webinar topic is all about asking the Scrum trainer. It's a Q&A for aspiring agility aces, and our expert Agile coach and trainer Regina Martins will be taken to the stage to answer all of your burning Scrum Master related questions. So if you have any questions you'd like Regina to answer over the course of this webinar, please feel free to pop them in the Q&A section, and Regina will tackle them all as the webinar progresses. Okay. We will also be recording this webinar session and send out a recording afterwards via email. So make sure to contact us on the web. We'll post all of our social media links in chat. So just keep an eye out there. Also, feel free to have a chat in chat. We've got people standing by to answer some questions. But if you do have something that you want specifically Regina to answer, please just pop it in the Q&A. Okay. Okay. I think we can get started. So without further ado, I'll be handing over to Regina Martins. So please feel free to participate and enjoy the webinar.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Ernst. So welcome everybody to this webinar, Agile 42 webinar. And I do many certified Scrum Master classes and certified product owner classes, both virtually and in person. And I get so many questions, and I always aim to answer all questions. So many of the questions are answered during the course of the training. And then, of course, there are a few which I spend some time just before the training ends addressing them. And these aren't simple questions. These aren't how do you do a sprint planning, or, what is a sprint review? They're not simple questions like that. They're more complex questions, and they've got to do with how Scrum and agility is being adopted in the organization. So every single question has got multiple different answers. So I thought it would be a great idea to have this webinar and address some of those questions, because the very interesting thing about these questions is that there are so many similarities. They are so similar. So whether someone is in South Africa, in Germany, in the UK, in Italy, a lot of the questions that are being asked are quite similar, which means that organizations are very similarly structured or very similarly designed, especially very large corporates. So yeah, this is an opportunity to get some of those questions answered. So I have prepared some fire starter questions, and I'll start off with those. And then hopefully by the time I get through them, there will be questions from you, from yourselves, so that I can address them as well. So you can put them in the chat, or you can put them into the Q&A tab as well. All right, so I am going to share my screen, because it's always easier to have a little bit of a visual. And while I do that, I just want to kind of introduce a little bit more about me. Yes, I'm an Agile coach, and I'm a certified Scrum trainer. And I've been with Agile 42 since 2015, so quite a while now. And before that, I was a Scrum Master and Agile coach at some of the banks in South Africa. So I do have quite a heavy experience working in highly regulated environments. And hopefully I helped Agile work in those environments. I live in Johannesburg. However, I am in Cape Town at this point in time, and the sun has just come out after a couple of days of rain and wind. So, all right, that was just a little bit about me. So I am sharing my screen, and here we go. Here is a question, and I hope you can all see that. Here's a question that I get a lot. So what are the KPIs for a Scrum Master? And whenever I hear the term KPIs, I kind of get a little bit nervous, because KPIs are so, or have if they are badly crafted, have got the potential to be so limiting on the individual fulfilling that role. Like, it's very limiting. There's a set number of KPIs and they are measured in such a way, and it becomes quite limiting. And when I think about the role of the Scrum Master, it is a role that is so broad, and it is enacted by different people in different ways. We know what great Scrum Masters do, and I will mention a few of those things. And to try and box Scrum Masters into very strict KPIs is actually counterproductive to the perception of the role and to the success of the people in those roles. So that is the fine print that I just want to mention out there. Of course, big corporates have got very specific performance processes. So yes, that's why there needs to be some kind of KPI or guiding document for Scrum Masters to be measured against. So I like looking at, so how do we look at what Scrum Masters do? So Scrum Masters, we know that Scrum Masters, great Scrum Masters, help a team become more effective. And they are doing things, or they're doing things like coaching and facilitating, but also they are helping teams think beyond what they think is possible, or they're capable of, to do things in different ways, to do things in ways that is going to help them become more effective and deliver. Another area which a lot of Scrum Masters are not aware of, especially when they come onto the course for the first time, is that they are also, required to help coach the product owner. And quite often Scrum Masters feel a bit reluctant to do that, because there's normally a hierarchy between Scrum Masters and product owners, especially if product owners are in the business. So there is a bit of reluctance. However, if a product owner is battling to order the backlog, if they are battling to facilitate and have good collaborative discussions with stakeholders, the Scrum Master is there to actually support and help the product owner, because that is going to, a product owner that is well supported, that is able to have a backlog that has got items of value in them, and those things are the things that the rest of the Scrum team is working on, is very important. And then, of course, the other third element of what a Scrum Master does is, of course, the organization. So, a Scrum Master, yes, they have a team that they work with, that they're a Scrum Master for, and the expectation is that Scrum Masters are also change agents. They start telling the rest of the organization about Scrum, about Agile, or let's say it's an organization that has got Scrum. A lot of organizations have got Scrum that has been adopted for quite some time. It's helping other teams become effective. It's liaising with leaders and stakeholders, helping them understand Agile and Scrum, and the importance of their support for the teams in terms of what needs to be delivered. Things like goals. And Scrum is very goal driven. There's 2 goals in Scrum. There's a product goal. There is also the sprint goal, and those goals are very important for helping the teams achieve what needs to be achieved. So working with leadership, working with stakeholders, the business, to help the creation, the crafting, and the making clear of such goals, and ensuring that the teams are actually working on value adding stuff. So whatever the KPIs look like, it's important that they encompass those areas, and not just, you need to do this, you need to do this report, or you need to move this JIRA ticket, or you need to facilitate this event, or you need to remove impediments. If that's all that you're required to do as a Scrum Master, you're not being allowed to fulfill the entire scope of what your role should be. So I think I'm going to leave it here, and because I can carry on forever talking about this, and I'm going to see if there are any other questions. So let me just check here if there's any other questions. Okay, there's no questions at this point in time. All right. Cool. All right. So that is the KPIs of the Scrum Master. All right, so since there's no other questions in the Q&A, I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to talk about this one here. And this is a question that I get asked quite often as well. So let me share my Miro board once again. And it's the following: is a Scrum Master a full-time role? What else does a Scrum Master do other than facilitate the Scrum events? So commonly, people think Scrum Master sets up and facilitates Scrum events. They remove impediments. And by the way, Scrum Masters don't remove impediments. They're accountable to ensure that impediments are removed. However, they're accountable. However, other people can also be responsible. And people often forget that, forget, or maybe they don't know. I've actually found here in South Africa that there's a huge misunderstanding about the role of the Scrum Master. And that it's limited to just facilitating Scrum events and removing impediments. But a Scrum Master, as mentioned in the previous question and answer, their role is much broader. So if you factor in things like coaching, the coaching aspect, the role of the Scrum Master starts becoming quite broader. So the Scrum Master is not just coaching the team. They're coaching the developers to be more effective. They're coaching the product owner to be more effective. And they are coaching at the organizational level. Let's just look at things like impediments. Scrum Master is accountable to ensure or to cause change that impediments get removed. So they're accountable for the removal of impediments. They are not necessarily responsible for the removal of impediments. So if impediments, the idea with impediments is that an impediment comes up and, someone actually moves it around, removes it or resolves it. And what the Scrum Master needs to do is, together with the team, do some root cause analysis, get to the root cause of the impediment, especially if it was something that was outside of the control of the Scrum team, because the idea is that that impediment should not come back again. Now, if you think about the process of doing root cause analysis and going and ensuring and helping the team put in place the processes or the technology or the equipment or other such resources to ensure that the team is fully independent and capable of delivering end-to-end value, then that process itself can be quite time-consuming and onerous. So it's not just about removing impediments, it's about causing change in the organization, outside of the team or in the team, to ensure that those impediments don't come back and they don't reoccur at all. All right, so yes, Scrum Master is a full-time role. They're not just there to do Scrum events, they are there to coach, and they are there to help cause change that helps the team be more effective. And they are there to ensure that the team is working according to goals, that stakeholders are invested and on board, and that they actually are actively arriving and participating in the sprint review, for example. Backlog refinement. Backlog refinement is an activity of Scrum, and it's such an important activity. And in my experience, a lot of teams are not doing backlog refinement terribly well. So Scrum Master will help the team look for ways of bettering their backlog refinement so that things get, items, stories, whatever you're calling them, get broken down into small pieces such that things can be completed in a sprint, and value, those increments of value, are actually delivered by the end of the sprint. All right, so let me stop sharing. Ernst.
So it seems that we do have a question that came through. Can a non-technical person be a Scrum Master?
Oh, thank you for that. Okay, right. So the quick answer is yes, most definitely. I will explain, I'll qualify why I think that is, right? So actually, I am a non-technical person. I come from the business, and then I went into the project management world, and I think I was a pretty good Scrum Master. As a project manager, I did project manage big telco projects and software development projects. So I have a pretty good understanding of software development, the mindset of the developer, and also I take a very keen interest in technology, in architectures, and I understand it. So a Scrum Master, it's enough for them to take an interest in the work of the team. One thing that I encourage Scrum Masters is you need to know, you can't just be a Scrum Master not caring about what the team is doing, about the work the team is doing, about the goals the team needs to meet. You need to take a keen interest if you are not a technical person. A Scrum Master, they are not a project manager. They are not there to tell the team how to do their work or what to do. They're there to coach the team. They're there to help the team be more effective. So they need to have an understanding of coaching, facilitation, human dynamics, process, how processes work, how does the organization work, and to help the team understand those things, and they bring that bigger organizational context to the team. Another thing that is resonates with me about this question is that Scrum was born from software development. It was born from a very technical field, but Scrum for quite a few years now is being used across the board, across the value stream of the organization. So I work with teams that are in advertising, and they're using Scrum in the creative process of advertising, even before the production process. I have also worked with teams who are working with legislative frameworks here in South Africa. And these teams are economists and they are lawyers. So Scrum Master, it's not expected that a Scrum Master is an economist or a lawyer or their particular Scrum Master, because a Scrum Master needs to know Scrum, they need to know facilitation, coaching, they need to help the team look at the big picture. They need to be neutral, right? So if a Scrum Master is technical, it's going to impact their neutrality. And that is quite a critical thing, right? So for me, it's a myth that Scrum Masters need to be technical, because you are not looking for technical skills. You are looking for skills that is going to help the team deliver and be more effective.
Perfect. Another question that came in was, what are some ways that Scrum Masters can drive Scrum values within Scrum teams and the wider organization?
Okay, so the first thing is the Scrum Masters need to they need to role model those values first and foremost, right? So Scrum Master, you need to role model those values. You need to role model focus. You need to show what focus is. If you're focused on helping a team resolve an impediment, it's about you focusing on that, and helping the team understand what focus is. Courage. Courage is another value that it's important to role model, and courage could be as simple as ensuring that the product owner is in the sprint retrospective, for example. Courage could be speaking to a stakeholder and asking for their support, or asking a question on behalf of the team, and you role model. first and foremost. The other thing, which is a very important thing for Scrum Masters to do, and this technique is something that can encompass the values of Scrum, is having a working agreement, so facilitating a working agreement for the team. And the working agreement is how, so as a team, how are we going to work together? And it's an agreement the team makes to work together in a certain way, and it encompasses behaviors and it encompasses values as well, for example. And when facilitating and collaboratively with the team a working agreement, respect is another of those Scrum values. And it's very important that when you are teaching the team about the values and you're saying, all right, if respect is part of our working agreement, what does respect mean for everybody? Because respect is one of those very complicated or complex values that means different things to different people. There must never be an assumption that everybody knows what respect is until those discussions have been had. For example, for me, respect is if somebody interrupts me when I'm speaking, for me, that is lack of respect. But for somebody else, they love it. They don't mind that. So it's ensuring, for example, that everybody understands what respect means for every single individual in the team. It's about understanding what it means and having those discussions collaboratively. It's not something you do in an hour. It's something that you might do over a few days, spending a little bit of time each day. And at the end of that discussion, the team can put together a working agreement that everybody understands what the values mean for each individual person. And the moment those discussions happen, they become almost like front of mind, becomes part of the team consciousness. And then it becomes easier for the team to live those values.
Perfect. Okay, so we've got another two questions that came in here, and they're very similar, so I think we can actually answer them at the same time.
Okay.
One is, what are the key challenges when a Scrum Master is also the line manager of the team? And the second question is, what is the difference between project managers and a Scrum Master? What if you need to
Okay.
combine both?
Okay, so I'm just writing that down. So what if, so the first question is, I'm going to address them separately. So what if the line manager is also part of the Scrum team, right? That's what I understand. So what if the line manager is part of the Scrum team? Okay.
What are the
Is
key
it,
challenges when
oh,
Scrum
when,
Master is also the line manager?
oh, sorry. When the line manager is also part of the, okay. Okay, key challenges is that the Scrum Master, so I always like to answer these challenges in two ways. First, there's challenges for the individual, and then there's challenges for the team. Let's talk about challenges for the individual themselves. So the individual will be working with a bit of a conflict of interest because the goal of the line manager and the goal of the Scrum Master, the goals are quite different. So it is in the interests of the line manager to tell the team what to do and to set the direction for how a particular user story or particular item gets developed, for example, or how a system gets designed. And a line manager will also tell the team how long they have to do it, and they'll be tracking. Why haven't you done it? And it's taken 3 days. Why aren't you finished? So that is really what line managers tend to do, right? A Scrum Master, on the other hand, does not do that. They are not there to track the team and micromanage the team or manage the team to the degree where they are telling the team what to do and how to do it and how long they have to do it. So when it's the same individual having to fulfill both of those roles, it becomes quite stressful for them. So they may come across as in quite a dissonant way. But it's because they're probably under a lot of stress because they've got two disparate goals that they need to manage, right? And it can be very, very tough for that person. Now, the impact on the team, the key challenges for the team is that at any particular point in time, the team does not know, are they talking to this person as a Scrum Master or as the line manager? And that starts impacting the safety and security in the team. So things like impediments don't get raised because the team is too scared to raise impediments, because if they raise impediments, then they might think it's gonna reflect badly on them. The team is also not going to be open and honest about what's really happening and why a particular task is delayed, because they're too afraid to mention it. They rather hide it because they're afraid that the line manager is going to penalize them, or they're going to think badly of them. So those are some of the things that can happen. So those are some of the key challenges. So going back to the Scrum values question, openness is another value of Scrum. So openness starts being affected, and then you start getting people who are no longer wanting to collaborate with each other. And then you get a team that is no longer effective, and it might actually impact delivery at the end of the day. So you need to watch out for those things. So yeah, quick. I don't want to again, I could spend so much time on this question. Okay, when the project manager is also the Scrum Master, it's a similar thing. It's a similar dissonance that occurs because the KPIs of the project manager are different to the KPIs or what a Scrum Master does. And it's quite stressful to be that person. And the same things are going to happen as what I mentioned before. And just a brief, I was mentoring a project manager who also was told they needed to be the Scrum Master. And he said to me, Regina, I need your mentorship because I don't know if I can do this. So I said, yes, look, we spoke about what it meant. There was an organizational need to do that because there was a recruitment freeze, and we worked together. And then after 3 sprints, he said, you know what, Regina, I can't do this anymore. It's having an impact on my mental health. So I have decided, and please don't think badly of me, he said, but I've decided to go back to be full-time project management. I am going to tell the PMO that I can't be the Scrum Master anymore. And I said, you know what? You need to do what is going to be the best. So it's a question of if you are able to make that choice. He was able to make that choice. Fortunately, sometimes a lot of people are not able to make that choice. So those are just some of those issues. You lose neutrality. So I see there's another question. Oh, it's the same one, right? The product owners are okay.
We do have
What?
one here. Is it the Scrum Master's responsibility to iron out behavioral issues in a team?
Wow. Okay. Iron out behavioral issues. Sure. Okay. I will say that the focus of the Scrum Master should be the team, right? And it's not about ironing out individual behavioral issues, but focusing on the team. And when there are individuals that their behavior is impacting the team in a negative way, the first stance that the Scrum Master needs to take is that of coaching, right? And one of the activities that that coaches do is you observe and you listen and you ask questions. So first of all, understand where is this coming from? Where are these behavioral issues coming from? Why is this person or this pair of people, what is really going on for that? So it's trying to understand if it's a real behavioral issue, or is it maybe a conflict situation, or is it maybe that they are battling with something that is manifesting in a behavioral issue? Because people don't come to work to be disruptive. They come to work to do the best that they can. Of course, there are things in the environment and other people that may impact that. They may impact that. So it's about really just understanding where it's coming from. And then depending on where it's coming from, and it's affecting the whole team, maybe the working agreement needs to be relooked at, for example, or maybe that the root cause of that behavioral issue is something which is an impediment that can be resolved, for example, and only at a last resort does it become a human resources issue, where in my career as a Scrum Master, it's only ever happened once, where I needed to include human resources, but that was because there was a very public display of disrespect and abuse in the workplace. And of course, that needed to go to human resources. So, but that only happened once in the last 15 years. So it's not something that that often happens. So it's about understanding what is going on, and then from that determining, is it something in the environment, or is it something that we need to sort out in terms of conflict or in terms of working agreements. And those are just some examples.
It's a good answer. I've got a juicy one here for you.
Yeah.
How can we shift Scrum Masters from supporting or protecting the software engineers to the fuller teams like QA, PO, a product owner, and UX designers?
Okay, so without knowing more, I'm kind of making an assumption that the Scrum team does not include the testers and the UX people. It just includes the software developers. So I'm not sure if that's the case. So the focus of the Scrum Master is the Scrum team, and the Scrum team consists of the product owner themselves, the Scrum Master, and also the developers. And the developers, by the way, okay, it's 2020, the new Scrum Guide, the new version of the guide, Scrum Guide came out, and the term development team was reworded to developers. And the spirit of that renaming was in the spirit of product developers, whether you are in software development or whether you are in advertising, just as an example. So if that's the case, then it's probably the developers only consist of the software developers. So your team is missing some critical skills. So those people should be part of the group of developers, which is an important component of the Scrum team. And as part of the group of developers, then the focus of the Scrum Master is naturally there, right? So I'm not 100% sure if maybe I haven't exactly answered that question. It includes developers. Okay, so it does include that. Yes. All right. Okay. So okay, so I see the question here from there's a question in the Q&A. In my world, what I found that implementing Scrum in its purest form is difficult, as it depends on the culture and the work that needs to get done. And I'm at a point where I just want to forget frameworks, including Scrum, and get teams just to derive their own. What's your take on that? Well, excuse me. So 100%, Scrum is so the adoption of Scrum starts impacting the organizational structure, the organizational design, and the culture underlies that, right? And it requires change at that level, and it's not an on-off switch. It's something which takes time to implement or to adopt. And and if you look at like change adoption curves, there's a lot of chaos before things actually start stabilizing. And in a situation like that, my take on this is, yes, Scrum is not easy to adopt. It's easy to understand and not easy to adopt. So if you have to go and if you have to throw away frameworks, and yeah, I mean, it's a reality. You look on LinkedIn, you can see what people are writing about Agile frameworks and things like that. I do still believe in the values and the principles of Agile. The Agile Manifesto, the 4 values and the 12 principles, right? If you go back to those are critical. Of course, Scrum actually gives you the wherewithal, the rules to actually embody that. But if you have to kind of throw away Scrum or Kanban or whatever other framework, it's go back to the source, go back to the roots. Scrum predates the Agile Manifesto. Go back to the Agile Manifesto, look at the principles, and work with those. And I think that it's about business agility. It's about adapting, learning, the empirical process, the 3 pillars of empiricism: inspection, transparency, inspection, and adaptation, right? If you have to go back to the root, go back to the 3 pillars of empirical process control, go back to the Agile Manifesto. Don't label it, but try and honor those. That's my take. Okay.
Okay, and then we've got another one here. Should a Scrum Master be held accountable for having sprints planned 3 or 4 sprints into the future? Is the PO accountable or responsible?
Um, so, um, so, hmm. So, okay, is the Scrum Master accountable? Okay, quick answer, no. Scrum Master is not accountable. And let me continue elaborating a little bit on that, right? So, a product owner, what I teach in my product owner course is road mapping, product roadmaps, and release planning. And a product owner has got a product roadmap, which is based on outcomes, not outputs, right? So outcomes driven. So we are focusing on these product goals. We are focusing on these outcomes. And this is part of the roadmap. And from that roadmap, then of course the product backlog is created, and then it gets ordered and it gets refined, and then that's how the sprints actually get planned. In terms of product road mapping and release planning, that's the accountability of the product owner. And the product owner will know, because they are the people who are they're responsible accountable for value, for the return on investment. So they are the people who know, we need to deliver this at this point and this at that point, for example. So I would rather you look at ensuring your product owner has got a product roadmap, and just the skeletons of what needs to be released when, because if you're working in very regulated environments, you might have some deadlines. Some deadlines don't go in as much as what we want deadlines to go away, they're always going to be there, right? So if that is the accountability of the product owner, and that'll obviously inform the sprint. So do not plan as a Scrum team, do not plan more than the current sprint in advance, because things are going to change. The product backlog is a list that is always changing. So things are going to, so you're going to waste time planning like sprint 3, sprint 4, sprint 5, where, when you get to the end of sprint number 1, you get to sprint number 2, what you had planned has changed. So only plan this sprint and help your Scrum Master get a product roadmap in place and elements of a release plan.
Okay. Another one asks, what's the challenge when the product owner is the line manager of the team? What's the challenge when in the Scrum team there is a tech lead who has more power in decision than the other developers?
Yeah. Okay. So one is a product owner. So there's a reporting line with the product owner. It's quite a similar answer to the one that I answered a little bit earlier. So the product owner is going to, I mean, let's face it, they are doing what what their KPIs are saying. You need to get your teams to do as much work as possible in as shorter time as possible. So the product owner will be perhaps placing some pressure on the team to take on more work than they have capacity for. And because there is a reporting line, their team doesn't feel like they can challenge the product owner or, have a discussion with them about, decreasing scope or increasing time or anything like that. So that is quite a big challenge that actually happens. And then the team stops trusting the product owner and they start being open and honest with the product owner. And so the values of Scrum start becoming impacted. So that becomes quite problematic. I have not found that often, right, where product owners are the line managers of the Scrum team, thankfully. But that is what normally happens. If you put yourself in the position of the manager, what you want the team to do versus if you were not a line manager or the reporting line. Yeah. What was the other one was a tech lead, right? If the tech lead is in the team. So, okay, I see that a lot. Many tech leads, and in some clients, the tech lead is actually also the Scrum Master. The tech, and of course, there's a reporting line as well. So similar things happen as well. The difference between having a product owner as a line manager and a tech lead as a line manager, from what I have experienced in my experience, is that product owners tend to hold themselves very much outside of the team, whereas tech leads are also developers. So there tends to be a little bit more trust with tech leads, right? So I did a certified Scrum Master course on Monday and Tuesday, and I had 2 tech leads who are also developers and also line managers, actually, this exact same situation. So I actually told them the following. I said, you need to go to a shop that sells hats, caps, like these caps, right? And then you need to go and print one cap that says developer, another cap that says team lead or tech lead, right? And when you are in the persona of the developer, you've got your developer cap on. And this works, okay, in a virtual environment as well. And when you are in the persona of the tech lead, you've got the tech lead cap on, because again, you need to protect yourself. Otherwise, there's going to be cognitive dissonance, but you also need to ensure the team continues trusting you. So it's a bit facetious, but it's about becoming conscious of how that person or that individual actually shows up for themselves and for the teams as well. I see a question here, Ernst, before, I know you got another question for me, but I just want to address this question here that's in the Q&A. Any ideas on how to deal with low performers within the Scrum team? This is a tough one. This is a very tough one, right? Especially because Scrum Masters are not line managers. And if a team is working together and they are self-managed, then low performers become quite exposed, not just to the product owner or to the Scrum Master, but everyone can see that their work is not being done. And if the team is able to hold each other accountable, that is the ideal. I'm painting to you the ideal picture. That is the ideal. And in the ideal world, low performers either start performing when they see that their focus is on them, or or they actually self-eject out of the team. They actually eventually leave the team because they realize it's not for them. Okay, let's talk about the non-ideal situation, which is probably the norm. So first of all, without knowing what the background is try to understand where is this low performance coming from? Is it because they lack the skill? Is it because they are having personal issues, for example? Are they lacking some kind of resource in which to do their work? So first understand where it's coming from. Or are they really, real, true low performers? And if there is a really low performance because somebody's just lazy or they just don't want to do the work, or if it's like that, then you might want to involve the person's line manager. However, I find that low performance has a context normally. And the context is they don't feel confident about the work that they are doing, and they are hiding it, and they try to hold on. They're afraid to ask for help. They might have they might just come from an environment where, asking for help was, they were penalized for that, or they lack some skill, or knowledge, or they lack when I talk about resources, I'm talking about, access to environment, or access to, technologies that they need and they're too afraid to ask for it. Um, or the tricky one is when they are having some personal issues, because what's happening at home does affect us at work. And Scrum Masters, even though you are coaches, you're not therapists. You need to remember that you're not therapists. And if someone has personal issues, maybe they need to be referred to professionals. If you can refer them to professionals, but maybe, they just need someone to listen to them, but don't try and help them sort their problem out. You're not the therapist. So yeah, so that's really how I would deal with low performance. Understand the context first, and then see where we need to go. Yeah. And if you need to refer them to the line manager, then so be it. But quite often there's a context. Know the context before making the assumption that low performance is because somebody's lazy or just doesn't want to do work.
Okay. And then one more question that I saw here is a Scrum Master accountable for getting the technical lead and developers to size the effort of a feature? If not, then who is?
Okay. Okay, I'm going to answer that question in a bit of a different way. So of course I'm thinking, no, they're not accountable. Okay, but let me qualify that. So is the Scrum Master accountable for getting the tech lead, or to size so the rule of thumb for sizing or estimating is the following: only the people who are going to do the work are the people who size the work. So the developers are the people who need to size the work, right? So the Scrum Master is accountable for ensuring that the team knows how to size. Maybe they can coach them on estimation sizing techniques. Maybe the Scrum Master needs to ensure, well, yeah, they're accountable for the Scrum. So yeah, is the team doing backlog refinement? Does the team know how to do backlog refinement? Backlog refinement isn't just, breaking down stories, because sometimes stories are so complicated. Like you have an anchor story, which means it needs a whole bunch of stories to be done in order to uh, complete that feature. So the Scrum Master is there to help the team understand or know how to do backlog refinement. There are many techniques for backlog refinement. There are many books. My Cone, Agile estimation planning, backlog, they've got techniques there. If you go and you Google patterns for backlog refinement, you'll find a lot of those patterns out there on the internet. It's about bringing those to the team and helping them do some backlog refinement. And during the backlog refinement, that's when I would suggest you do the estimation, where you do the sizing of the work. And that's really what the Scrum Master is accountable for, ensuring that the team knows how to do backlog refinement, ensuring the team does backlog refinement rather than getting the tech leads to do that. Now, let me just add something in, like backlog refinement. The developers, they need to size the work. However, if the developers need subject matter expertise, or they need expert help from, say, a tech lead, yeah, they can be in the backlog refinement So Scrum Master, go and grab them, say, we need you in backlog refinement because the team needs your expertise. And so the tech lead will be there. There'll be a discussion about the technicals in and out, what needs to be done. Maybe there's some whiteboarding, and which helps the team understand and refine the stories. But at the end of the day, it is the developers, the people who are going to do the work, who will estimate that work.
Seems like we just got another question coming in. Apologies if this topic has been covered as I joined a bit late. What are your views on the current trend in the Agile industry at present, whereby we're hearing more about how some Scrum Masters are being converted or asked to be Agile project managers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, so I suppose there's many ways of answering this question. So I don't know project manager, by the way. I mean, I'm being a little bit facetious. So organizations are probably, and I can see my internet connection is unstable. I hope I'm coming through clearly. Organizations have a need for control, right? They need to know timelines. They need to know when things are going to happen. And normally the project manager is the person who undertakes and is accountable for all of those things. Now, a Scrum Master has got no project management accountability. In fact, project management is a capability that is undertaken by the Scrum team as a whole. And my views on this is I feel a little bit sad that Scrum Masters are not seen for the full value and that they can bring to the party. And it's because organizations have a need for control. So my thinking is that I wonder if we as a community have not supported Scrum Masters enough to be courageous, to help Scrum be understood, not only by the team, but also by the leaders, the people up the reporting line, right? And yeah, and that is something which I often think about. Are we not supporting our Scrum Masters enough? Are we just doing a 2-day certified Scrum Master course and expecting Scrum Masters to go out there and change the world, become change agents where, they need more coaching, they need more mentoring. So I am seeing that a lot. So those Scrum Masters who are, and I actually was having dinner with one such person, a Scrum Master who is now a project manager. And I said to her, you actually need just to, yes, if this is what you have to do, it's what you have to do. And there's no reason why you can't still go back to the Agile values and the Agile principles. There's many ways to be Agile. And if you're an Agile project manager, you're still working iteratively and incrementally, right? You're still hopefully doing, daily scrums. Maybe you're not calling them scrums. Maybe you're calling them daily stand-ups, daily synchronization sessions for the people doing the work, to synchronize and make sure that they're still on track, working in short iterations, having retrospectives at the end of 2 weeks, or at the end of 3 weeks, whatever the iteration length is, and knowing that it is about putting the customer or the business at the center, right? And it's ensuring that value gets delivered more often, rather than only at the end of the project. It's about getting feedback from your stakeholders often. That's why you work iteratively and incrementally, right? So even though you're an Agile project manager, is what mechanisms are you putting in place in order to get feedback from your stakeholders? So that they can see value being realized often during the course of the project rather than only at the end of the project, which can be many months down the line or even some years down the line. Go back to the core, go back to transparency, inspection, adaptation, go back to the Agile values and the principles, put in place those mechanisms, call them whatever you need to do, but it's about empirical process control, iterative and incremental, and the manifesto.
Okay, and I think we probably have time for one last question, the one in the Q&A. We've got about 3 minutes to run with. What could be the challenges for the Scrum team in virtual or dislocated environments?
Yeah, okay. The challenges for the Scrum team, one of the big challenges is that they feel disconnected from each other because they are not together. So that's the first thing. Of course, not everyone can be together. You know, some teams are all over the world. Cameras off is not great, guys. It needs to be cameras on because face-to-face communication is one of the Agile principles. Face-to-face, I'm face-to-face. Okay, I can't see you guys, right? But if I could see all of you, I would be face-to-face with you rather than just this like black screen with my name on, right? So it's about face-to-face communication. So cameras on is critical for ensuring that there is more connection. Other challenges is that we stop seeing each other as people, as individuals, as team members, but just somebody in behind a screen or behind a black screen if you have cameras off. And one of the companies that I worked with, they had this right after COVID, you know, everyone started working from home, lockdowns were still in place. They actually implemented an empathy stand-up. And I found that so awesome because they had the daily stand up every day for the work, you know, ensuring they were still meeting this on track to meeting the sprint goal. But once a week, they had what they called an empathy stand up. And it's where they came together and they talked about everything but the work. So they could keep in touch with each other as people, as humans, what's happening with each other, with your families, you know, things like that. So we need to see each other as people. So we need to get to know who is the individual behind the screen, right? Cameras on. I'm saying that again. I'm repeating that. Cameras off is a challenge. Cameras on is much, much better. I speak from experience. And another challenge is that people will feel, because they feel disconnected, they might start missing certain Scrum events or feeling like they are not, don't want to participate. And arriving for the retrospective, for example, might be a bit of a problem and things like that. Yeah, so that's another challenge. There's quite a few, but the cameras are off and seeing each other as people, those are the two biggest ones.
Okay, so I think that's probably our time for today. Now that we're wrapping things up, we'd like to mention that we have 2 upcoming remote certified Scrum Master training dates, and that early bird pricing will be automatically applied up to 1 month prior to the training dates. If anyone would like to take advantage of the discount offer before it expires, I'll just share right over here for more details. And the first training date is for the 16th and the 17th of October, and the second date is for the 2nd to the 3rd of December. We'll pop the link in chat in case you don't want it, if you want to check it out. For all of our South African attendees, you can click on the South African flag on the left-hand side for ZA pricing. And if you'd like to connect with us on social or sign up to our newsletter and stay in the loop for any future webinars, you can check the links in the chat. We're going to publish that now. The recording for this webinar will be sent out via email. So if you'd like to receive that, please feel free to sign up and get notified. And I just want to thank you guys for attending today's webinar. It was great having you, and we look forward to you attending the next one.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the questions.